everybody. Welcome back to the 30 Minutes of Fame podcast. My guest today has got an amazing story. We crossed paths on the evil Twitter where I've met a good chunk of my amazing guests, so there's nothing evil about it if you know where to look. Um, this is Brett from Utah in the good old US of A. And just a reminder, there are no tariffs on this episode, it's tariff free. Welcome to my show.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I appreciate you having me.
So before we get into your story, I just want to anyone listening right now just to think about what you would do if you were told you had 48 hours to live. Um, I know a lot of people would just cover up in the covers and say, just take me, but you didn't do that, and here we are.
Yeah.
Let's dive
Well,
right into that.
I'm super blessed to be here, super fortunate. And if you would have told me a year ago that I'd be where I am today, I would have probably laughed at you and not believed it at all. So yeah, I feel fortunate to be here.
So I read you had a colon rupture. I mean, I don't even know what that would be like, what that is. How did you get 48 hours to live? Like it's
Sure. And I'll jump a little bit before that if you don't mind.
sure, go ahead.
So yeah, I guess like a lot of people that start drinking, they start drinking for a reason. And I didn't drink at all for most of my life, and kind of went through a divorce back in 2010. Started drinking, started out light, and kind of grew as it went. Like a lot of people, 2020 was what it was, and for me, it was practice was shut down, everything was shut down, and alcohol just kind of went up. And so I ballooned up in weight. 5'11", got all the way up to 255. Um, and just life kind of got out of control. Like you, I kind of met people through X. I actually hooked up with Dukes there on X, and he kind of was forming a group, and we started training. And so I started really kind of taking life back, and I went from 255 to 200, and life was good. I mean, I was the most healthy I'd been in a decade. Really just kind of going and doing and going and doing, um, and I just standard night, grilling kids at the pool, standard night. Fiance at the time put her kids to bed, and man, I just all of a sudden had this horrible pain, and I was curled in a ball, couldn't get out of the fetal position. Um, she was a physician as well, so of course she thinks nothing's wrong. And again, we'd had a few drinks, so she actually ended up calling 911 and had an ambulance take me. And she's like, you're impacted. They'll just impact you and call me in, a couple hours, and I'll come get you. Right. Well, she wakes up the next morning and has a text saying, hey, that I'm in the recovery room. And of course was like, what's going on? And ended up I ruptured my colon, just spontaneously, and was completely septic. And so she walked in, she had privileges there. So she just walked in the recovery room, and there I am, intubated, split wide open. What they have a wound vac on me. She's like literally your stomach was, I had an incision from my sternum down to my pelvis, just splayed wide open with this wound vac sucking infection out of me. And they kept trying to do surgery, and I was just so unstable, from that infection. I was intubated for about 10 days, before they could get all of that out of there. And yeah, in that 10 days, they didn't think I was going to make it. I was on dialysis, basically machines keeping me alive. And my parents flew in from Utah. I was in Atlanta at the time, and they flew in, and because they gave me 48 hours to live, and that was basically that. And so miraculously, I took a turn, and went from that to making a recovery. And it was pretty amazing. And drinking played a role. Drinking makes that colon super inflamed, and definitely was the main factor in rupturing that colon. And at that point, I was so far down the road in addiction, that even knowing that the alcohol was going to kill me, I'm home for 2 days out of this big event. I've got a wound back on. I've got drains coming out of each side of me, and I've got two 750s of whiskey sitting by my side, it just was, again, something that I couldn't stop doing, you
Mm,
know. And here I am, a well-educated guy, doctor on my own practice. Feel like she was the same. We owned the practice together, and we couldn't outthink this. We couldn't smart our way out of addiction. And so um, I had an ostomy bag there. Really kind of tried to stop drinking over that next 9 months. Ended up being lucky enough they reversed my ostomy. That was December of 24. And in my mind, I'm like, great, I'm going to be better, right? Here I am practicing with this ostomy bag and seeing patients, and it's super awkward. All of a sudden you're sitting there and you can't control anything. You're farting at your chest and talking about someone's foot and ankle issue, right? And it's like, yeah, this is great. Wasn't able to go back to the operating room. Anyway, they reversed it, and in that reversal, I ended up having a chronic GI bleed. So I felt terrible. And at the time, they didn't know that. My hemoglobin couldn't stay at 6. I was getting blood transfusions. I was in the ER, you know, every couple of days. It was a nightmare. And so I went from, you know, having all this hope that all of a sudden I was going to be back to normal, and all of a sudden I was worse. I mean, I couldn't lift, I couldn't do anything. And so again, just turned straight to alcohol. And just got out of hand. And at this point, Andrew, had enough. Our relationship was going in the tank, just because I was such a miserable person, and I was miserable. And so I ended up drinking to the point where she and I got in an argument, and I ended up getting arrested, saying a bunch of stuff, in front of her kids and those types of things. And I think that alcoholics are probably or addicts are kind of the one people that are super thankful to get arrested, because that really was rock bottom for me. Um, I had just kind of given up, and actually even after that. So right after I got arrested, I knew my license was going to be gone. I knew she was gone. And I gave up. I finally just completely gave up, and I went into one of our offices and started an IV, and um, basically injected enough epinephrine to, it was 10 times the lethal dose. Just was going to stop my heart. And so once again, God wasn't ready to have me leave this world. I was out on the floor for 3 days. Um, she found me there, and basically got me into detox and rehab.
wow.
It was an amazing experience. And like I said, I mean, I really shouldn't be here. Again, with that colon rupture, it's a 90% of people, sorry, excuse me, 90% fatality rate. And I don't know how I survived that epinephrine. I mean, I just truly should not have.
You know what, man? I've had a few recovery episodes, and I remember one guy I had on, he was in and out of prison like 9 times, and he said he was an addict, and that first time he was in there alone with his thoughts was the most powerful moment in his life. And
Yeah,
he's been straight ever since, and now he's sober 2 years and runs like online lives on TikToks for recovery. But he's like, it's that moment when I've been in a drunk tank in my life for 12 hours. Sorry if you're watching,
right.
you don't know that story, but it's the closest I've ever come to that. But what's that like when you're inside in that first moment when it's just you, walls, and your thoughts? It's got to be terrifying.
Yeah, it definitely was. Um, and again, at that point, when I was in there, um, I had some other run-ins. I got a DUI, and I was already on probation with my with the state board for my license. Um, that addiction was so strong leading up to all this. I mean, I was getting tested by my board at that time, and instead of actually getting sober, I had bought the lab actually, and they just faked all my tests. I owned everything, so I'd been running in this addiction for a couple of years pretty hard.
Well,
And again, it's doing everything I can to stay there. So again, when I'm there, my only thought is I'm a burden on everybody. I now not going to be able to make any money. I have just lost pretty much everything that I've worked my entire life for. And so for me in that moment was really, um, I truly I wasn't done. I'd given up. I mean, I was done with life, but the thought of recovery was just impossible.
well,
At that point, I just, like I said, it was just truly impossible. And I was so out of it mentally, um, that I really didn't know what was going on. I just was just kind of lost and gone. There's from the time I again started that IV to the time I got into detox, there's about 10 days in there that I don't remember. I was in the ER a couple times. I'd actually tried to take my life prior to that at a hotel, and maintenance guy just walked in and found me. I mean, just again, sheer luck, and called 911. And again, I don't remember any of these things other than just a paper trail of ER visits and all of those things. So for me, um, waking up in detox, which I'd been in detox 5 days, that's my first memory, since starting that IV that I have. And so that was kind of my time of, all right, God's not gonna let me die. I've tried everything to do to end my life. I've had all these physical ailments. And so it was really that moment was where I was like, okay, if anyone's gonna get me out of this, is gonna be God. And so I just have to just turn my life over and just totally surrender. And if if it wasn't for all these things and all of that, it doesn't happen. I just I'd clearly tried everything that I thought was the right thing to do, to try and stay sober. And I just, like I said, I just couldn't do it. So, um, yeah. And, we're human. So the day I turn myself over and I'm getting set up to go to rehab, and I had it in my head that I was going to go down St. George, Southern Utah. It's beautiful. I'd actually been in this rehab before. Um, and the rehab calls me and says, "Hey, we don't have space for you here. We have to go to Payson. Well, Payson, Utah's in the middle of nowhere." Um, and of course, I pitch a fit, right? And I'm like, you know what? You know what? Why can't I go where I want to go? Why can't I do what I want to do? And yelling and cursing at this guy. And, we hang up the phone, and hang up the phone again. It's just, dude, you just said you're going to let God guide your path, and here He is guiding your path, and you are trying to take control again and dictate what happens. So I actually immediately text that guy back, say, listen, if this is where you think I should go, this is where I need to go. And what it truly made all the difference in the world. I just everything from the guy that runs it is on the state board here in Utah to help me get my license back when that day comes, to my therapist, still my therapist today. He agreed to see me once I got out of treatment, and I still meet with him. And just the experience there just really set that path.
you've
So
got a
that was kind
purpose,
of my,
man. There's
yeah.
a
So
purpose
that
for you.
for sure. So instead of the jail moment being, kind of my come to Jesus moment, it happened a little bit after that. And yeah, I'm thankful for it. I really am.
Everything happens for a reason. 5 years ago, I moved to a small little town, population 3,000 people, and my parents are ministers. I grew up in a church, and then I ran away when all this stuff happened when I was 17. So 28 years later, the first person I meet in this small little town is one of the pastors at a Baptist church. And he's like, "Hey, why not? Let's just come out, give it a chance." I'm like, "No." But then I did, and then eventually I ended up meeting my girlfriend, who I'm with now 14 months, through
Nice.
church, who's on the
Hmm.
board at a church. All these crazy things I never saw happen. I'm playing with a band in church. I'm sober. and it's you never know. And it's I just there was this concert. It was I think it was a spring concert, and he's like, "Why don't you come out? It's a Friday night." I'm like, "Friday night at church? No, what the heck are you talking about, man? Like that
Right,
shit's for Sundays, right?"
right.
So I went, and yeah, everything happens for a reason. I know you work out a lot. I've seen a lot of your these pictures where, oh my goodness, you're just doing things that are crazy. But do you ever, when you're at the gym, look back to that moment where whatever doctor or whoever came in that room said, you know what? You have 48 hours. Make the most of it. Do you ever look back and just go, "Pfft, yeah, right.
Oh, of course I do today,
Yeah.
yeah, of course I do, and the entire story, is I'm so fortunate, and I do feel like, every day I'm super thankful and super blessed just to be here. And, it's really changed my life, and everything I do is really to talk with other people, try and inspire other people, and try and help other people. Even when I was in rehab and after, I still had the GI bleed. I had a 75% blockage in my heart. I had a ton of health things to go through, but the want to take a drink was just taken away completely. I mean, this is something that, I couldn't imagine going. I mean, if I was awake, I was drinking, for a long time. And to have all of that removed, really, in an instant has been amazing. Because yeah, and I love being healthy. I love working out, and I'd worked so hard to kind of get to where I was. But I still was to a point that GI bleed was still happening. And that kind of led me to get to where I am today too. So I still, like I said, was getting blood transfusions. I was told they're going to put another ostomy bag there to allow this GI bleed to heal. And again, it was kind of right when peptides were getting super popular. Um, and I just started taking BPC both orally and injecting it. And I said, give me 2 months. And they went to do my pre-op colonoscopy, and they're like, dude, you're healed. Like we didn't think that was even possible, right?
Wow.
And so totally saved me from having to have two more surgeries, ostomy bag for several months, and it was great. So yeah, I am super thankful to have the energy I do and to do all the things that I do and be where I am. Even this, so I ended up having a heart attack as well. So I had a heart attack in June, which again, totally miraculous. So I'm packing up. I'm going to go down to Bryce. I'm going by myself. I love to hike and wander in nature. It's kind of how I get close to God is that. And so I was going away for the weekend, packing up, and man, all of a sudden I'm on the floor and I just cannot move, right? And modern medicine's so amazing. I mean, I was picked up by an ambulance. They put a stent in. Wasn't an hour after they got me to put a stent in, and I was home in 23 hours. Like like nothing had happened. It's just like what it honestly was such a minor fix that it's hard for me to believe that that actually happened.
Wow.
So again, yes, I feel like I have a reason to be here. I feel like I'm blessed to be here. There are so many people that go through addiction and go through these things and don't make it. And I don't feel like I'm special or anything like that. I'm just the one that made it. And I've seen plenty of other guys that have not made it. And so I feel a sense of responsibility to get out and to tell my story and again try and inspire others. And I don't do it a lot in this format. I feel like my actions and what I do is really how I try and help other people. And so yeah, I mean, going and being able to lift and those that can't lift and can't work out, man, you just know what a blessing it is to be able to do so. And it really is a blessing to be able to get up and be active and do the things that we want to do. So
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know what? This is a big lesson from this episode, and I look back on some of my past ones. I mean, you're my first doctor I've had on here, which is cool. But I had Miss Arkansas um pageant on here, and She had an addiction story. She tried to take her own life.
Hmm.
I've had comedians on that with addiction and tried to take their own lives. It's just a lesson that you don't know what shit people are going through, and you're like whether they're a doctor. We're all the same, just different titles and different numbers in our bank accounts. But it's you never
100%.
know what someone is going through. That's why I just trying to. My girlfriend inspired me to every day I go find someone on Twitter or TikTok or someone that's struggling, someone trying to lose weight, and just going and leaving a comment saying, "Hey, nice work, champ," or
Yeah.
"Do this, you got this." And it's just being kind, one thing a day. It's all it takes. It can start a wave, and
Yeah.
it's
And kindness is the way, right? Gratitude, kindness, and those things really are, I don't know, it's the way to be happy in life. I mean, it really is. And I think, as much as I had an addiction disease, I had an arrogance disease too. Here I'm a doctor. I'm successful in all the ways that the world says I'm successful, but in reality, I was completely miserable. And so here I am now, and again, if you look at all the worldly stuff, it's gone. I don't have that anymore. But man, I'm truly happy today, and it's just such a blessing. I have so many great people in my life, and all of them positive with the same mentality of just, hey, let's just help other people, and that's truly how we're blessed and truly how we're happy. So, yeah, it's been quite the journey.
so here's another thought for anyone watching this that people are usually they're afraid of gyms. I was one of them. When I was 392 pounds and I went to try a gym for the first time. I was on an elliptical, I don't know, trying to warm up. And there's these three guys behind me, and I heard them laughing, and I heard one of them say, "The back of that guy's neck looks like a pack of sausages." And I didn't go for 6 months. I left the gym. I went and found a new place. But
Ah,
now when I go to the gym, I mean, I don't think I'm super fit, but I'm getting there. But if I see someone really big or I can tell they're just starting out, I'll just go up and say, "Hey man, you're doing freaking awesome."
yeah,
And it just sticks with people. It's amazing what will stick with you because those guys on that treadmill, but the first time I walk into a boxing gym, this five-time champion comes up and says, "Let's get it, champ." And he called me champ,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's stuck with me for 6 years. I don't even think
sure,
about those assholes anymore.
right.
So
Because that's what they are, right? I mean, that's their issues, their stuff. I mean, anyone that's there busting. I have a pickleball group that I go play with every Wednesday, and again, there's a big lady over on the court next to us, and she's got a little machine firing balls for 2 hours. Just this woman's over there going, and she had to be close to 300 pounds, and again, the same thing. Man, you're doing awesome, good work, nice job, and I try and do the same in the gym, even if it's a guy that's in shape that's busting it. And it's funny because you go up and try and give him a fist bump, and then a lot of times they're like taking back, like, "What are you doing?" And it's just funny how the world is, and how we um, aren't in a space to receive compliments, and it just people need to do more of that. I agree with you. I just feel like going up and saying, "Hey, what you're doing is great. Keep pushing."
yeah,
Because so many have been there. Look, I mean, I was uncomfortable doing anything. There's almost a decade where I was so overweight. I have very few pictures, have very few, anything. And it is just because you're so uncomfortable in your own skin. Um, that yeah, it is hard to get back in the gym and get going and do those things. But yeah, just that much more important to always acknowledge other people that are out there going through
the way I look at it, when you go to a gym and you see people with like
it.
8 packs and they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger's extra, everyone started somewhere. They didn't walk in there looking like that.
Yeah,
And
no,
everyone's going through shit. It's just go for it. The hardest thing you're ever going to do at that gym is opening the door and going in there.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny, because usually on X, you get on X, and especially on the fitness side of X, it's pretty easy to get body dysmorphia too, because here you have all these guys that are just so in shape, and it's like, man, that's like next level kind of stuff. And I have my own goals and my own things that I want to do. Um, but yeah, you kind of have to find that balance of, wow, are you going to go for that? I mean, obviously, you strive to push ourselves and push ourselves and push ourselves, but there are people that are so in shape. It's easy to get lost kind of in that a little bit. I kind of started helping people and coaching people and doing that. And I had a guy who, this guy is ripped. And he's like, dude, I think you lose 10 pounds. And I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, well, let's go. I mean, you got 6 feet, probably sitting at 11% body fat, but let's get you on down. Let's do this. So
But
it's just, it's a funny world.
it is, I'm not making light of anything we've talked about, but it just reminded me, I had a friend that he was given 6 months to live. He had some sort of, can't remember what it was, but I was out for a coffee with him and he's like, what do I do, man? Like, what should I do? You almost died. You've been there. I'm like, get married. He's like, what? But get married. It'll seem like the longest 6 months of your life.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh man. So how are you doing like with the alcohol now? Is that like that totally a thing of the past?
It really is. And look, I do all the right things or try to do all the right things. And, I think again, one thing with addiction, I go to AA all the time and this is the point now where, I go for the reasons of seeing someone come in new, right? And just remembering like that's when I was just a year sober on the 25th of January. So I mean, it's not like I've been sober all that long. And so just remember how close it is. I mean, if I take a drink, I'm gonna die. I mean, I know that, right? And again, I also feel like I've been super blessed. Like I really, I mean, I may in the last year had a craving maybe once or twice. It's really not been all that often. And again, it's just something that God's blessed me with. And so to see that and just remember how close you are to that. And then as well, you have guys that have been sober 4 and 5 years that go back out and go right back into it, and their life is just as bad as it was before, almost instantly. I think, a big part of addiction, one is giving back, but the other is just to realize how close you are to going back to where you were before. And I mean, my kids and I mean, my oldest son's still not talking to me yet, but all my other three kids are. But there was, when I got my DUI, I actually had my son in the car. It was his 14th birthday,
Well,
and great dad moment, right? And so he hadn't talked to me. He's 19 now, but we have a great relationship now. We talk almost every day, and so yeah, to have all of these things come back, and they came back so much faster than I really thought that they would. That for me, again, I try and do the right things every morning. I could setting getting that mindset every morning is obviously important. So I try and do the right things, but yeah, it's really not an issue for me at the moment. And again, I think as long as I continue to keep doing what I'm doing, I think it'll be okay.
me and my girlfriend, we're both been sober quite a while, and every now and then we'll go to karaoke here in town, and that used to be my place where I just go get wasted and do stupid shit. So we just sit back and we just watch because it's the same thing. 10:35, all the drunk people start coming in. 11:30, everyone's overserved, and we just look at them like, wow, like. And then we just usually leave because I'm 50 and I'm usually in bed by 10 o'clock. But when it's just fun just to sit back and just watch, I'm like, wow, that was me. And like, holy, I've had people tell me, you know what, you were a real asshole when you used to be back in those
Yeah.
days. I'm like, that hit me hard, like to know that it's amazing. But
Sorry, you futzed out on me there a second. You with me?
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you
I
futzed
can.
out. Okay.
Yep, we're
Yeah,
still good.
oh, and I was totally an asshole. I mean, I mean, I still have apologies that need to be made. I mean, I just think about, and the people that are closest to you, you tend to beat up the most, and so you kind of go through that. But yeah, as far as going out and be around it, I've been dating someone now for a while, and she's awesome, and so my single buddies love when I go out with them because they've got a DD man. They've got someone that's not afraid to go to talk to anybody because if someone shoots me down, doesn't want to talk to me, what do I care? Because I'm dating someone fantastic, right? And so they ask me to go out all the time, and I was hesitant to do that at first, but now it's just like, man, I, I'm 53, and so my buddies are about the same age. I'm like, I don't miss I don't miss a thing about it. It's again, it's
No,
almost reinforcement of, why I don't do it, than a temptation to join in and do it because it just doesn't look like fun to me.
Yeah, beautiful. Man, I got one more stupid question, then we'll get out of here. But thank you for coming on and sharing that story. That's going to
Yeah, man,
inspire.
appreciate it.
That's going to inspire some people a lot. I mean, just take a step back, and you never know who's going through what. But if somebody's watching this now that's either struggling with weight loss, addiction, mental health, anything, give me a 30-second pep talk for those people.
Man, now you're putting me on the spot now. I don't know if I'm going to have that pep talk. Um, it's one of those hard things because people could, and people did tell me, "Hey, what are you doing? You're throwing your life away. This is, again, it took me losing everything. So people have to be ready. You can sit and pep talk and do all you want. But if you are there and you do want it, man, there is so much help out there. And I guess the biggest thing is just don't hesitate to take that step, whatever that step is. If you are out of shape and need to get in shape, I love X and Twitter. I think it's awesome. If you get on the right side of Twitter and
Mhm.
get your algorithm right, these guys that are super cut and super ripped, they are all such nice guys. I mean, for the most part, and all they want to do is help.
Yeah,
And it's not going to cost you a penny. It's not going to do anything. Just ask, and these guys will bend over backwards. And yeah, I mean that'd be my biggest thing is just to take that step and put yourself out there and just don't hesitate. We have so many resources for so many things that it's I mean it's almost become almost simple to get in shape now. I mean it's amazing how easy it is to do that with the technologies that we have now.
beautiful.
Um,
I got one more. I end all my episodes with this question, and it's just my little silly icebreakers for some serious topics. But here we go. Um, a 100-meter pigeon carrying contest. How many how many pigeons could you fit in your arm and carry 100 meters?
how many pigeons? I mean, I've not carried a pigeon ever in my life. I'm going with 20.
20? That'll put you in the top 10% of what the record is 300. The comedian I just had on. Um,
I don't know how you're carrying those are little pigeons if you're carrying 300 of them.
and just a reminder too that if there's anyone from PETA watching, no pigeons were harmed in this question or this episode.
I
I've
love
had some
it.
pretty heavy topics on here, and that's what's going to get me canceled. Freaking pigeons.
So silly.
All
I
right, so
appreciate you, man.
if you're on X, Twitter, I'll put Brett's link in the description. You want to give him a follow, and yeah, any other links you have or anything you want me to put in here, just let me know and we'll fire
Yeah,
it up.
man, I appreciate you.
You too. And have you been to a Utah Mammoth game yet?
I have not. I have not. And actually, I love live hockey. I mean, I feel like hockey is kind of that one sport that it just doesn't translate on television as much as it does going live.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not a huge hockey guy. But Utah's it's amazing what they're doing with their sports here. But yeah,
Yeah, it looks like quite the arena. I've been to every rink in Canada, and of course, hockey. We bleed hockey up here, but
I know. Yes, yes.
I've only been to Buffalo in the States, so I don't really want to base my U.S. hockey experience on Buffalo. There was people peeing in the sink in the intermission. I mean, come on.
well, you're more than welcome to hit me up and get to Utah anytime you want, man.
That'd be beautiful. Wait till
Yeah,
my Leafs come down there and we'll.
Utah is amazing. It really is a great state. It's good to be back home. Like I said, I was in Atlanta for 25 years, and it's nice being back here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on with me. Thank you for sharing your story. It inspired me. It gave me a lot to think about as well. And I hope don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that stuff I don't really care about. I'm more about an impact kind of guy like you, but
Yeah,
my daughter tells me I gotta say it. So
good
gotta
for
be cool.
her. Those hours keep us straight.
And everybody watching, just go find someone online or just call up a friend, text a friend, say one nice thing to someone every day. It'll change.
Amen. Amen.
Have a great
Thank you,
day.
sir.